90+ applications electronically and otherwise submitted, and extensive interview. We had a committee of 9 or 10 faculty members, myself. A 2-hour grueling initial interview that Mr. Daly survived. Came back for another follow-up interview, another day's visit, and so we strong consensus of opinion from the interviewing committee that Mr. Daly should be offered the position as assistant principal. So it's a great moment for us to introduce him to you and to the public. So.
Welcome to North.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm humbled by the whole process, and it's been really great. My first few weeks here, getting to know all the kids and the teachers and the parents that came in. It's been wonderful.
It's going to get hotter after school starts.
I know.
We're really impressed with your resume and your innovative and creative ideas. That really stood out from the rest of the applicants. So we're looking forward to bringing some of that here to North Reading. But you have quite a commute.
I do. I live in Waltham right now, but I'm happy to get up in the morning and come in. It's been nice. I loved all the. When I first pulled in, I just looked around all the trees. The whole school's surrounded by trees. Like, this is very, very nice. My wife's going to love this. It's a beautiful community. I grew up in Melrose, so not too far away. So, I used to play against North Reading for travel soccer, but it's okay. No grudges. So, it's nice to be back in this part of this area. And I'm happy to bring. I developed a writing program, and I developed a lot of television video stuff. So I'm looking forward to introducing that, over time. I think as people are looking to try some new things out, I'd be happy to bring some of those things along as well.
Now, when you, at Waltham, you were at both a high school and a middle school, or, because the size of schools, I'm just curious, the middle school you're at, what was the size of that school, and the high school is, pretty big.
The high school's big. I was a teacher at the high school level. I ran after school and summer programs at the middle school for the past 5 years. There are 2 middle schools. Each is about the size of this school. So it's a pretty good size system.
I think one thing you'll find is the school's in great shape. I'm not talking about the physical structure. I'm talking about the administrative, the teachers, the kids. I think, to speak for myself, I think the whole committee, John had a great first year. Put in some innovative things. We just approved the new handbook at our last meeting, and it had some interesting new things in it, the way it was organized. So I think you're coming in at a good time when the school has always been a solid school, but we're kind of ramping up on a fresh start, and things are going well.
The building was actually built in 1892. Last renovated in 1928. So
It has all the modern amenities that you would find in 1892, and we didn't spare any. Right, we didn't spare any expense. The building isn't that bad. It's just not as big and doesn't have as much as we'd like to have. But
I would agree.
It serves its purpose.
And next week it'll look as good as it can look. When you see that floor shining out there, and take a look in the cafeteria, it looks good.
Well, we're hoping someday they'll do a TV studio and get the kids involved in some kind of media. And,
Sounds good.
You just heard they're going to open a new TV studio right in the center of town. Is that what they're doing?
Yes.
So we already have our eyes on that. So.
Okay,
Make some
great.
connections there,
Bring some new dimensions to the traditional middle school curriculum.
I also wanted to mention Jerry and I, being graduates of the University of Massachusetts, highly endorsed. When we saw your resume, we know that's where one of your degrees is from. We said we can't go wrong.
The rest of your resume was somewhat irrelevant.
Right. Once we saw UMass.
That was it.
Very proud.
You can definitely say this is a summer evening meeting.
Yes.
No, this is everything. I'm sorry.
Well, thank you very much for your time, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm very much looking forward to serving the students of the community. So.
Great.
I feel obligated to hang around for the rest of the meeting.
Right.
It's not very exciting.
All right, folks. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Welcome,
much.
Mr. Daly. Next, we have the turf and track project update. Are we on schedule?
Yes. Barry, I heard back from Mr. Johnson, our athletic director, and also Mr. Hardiker, and he provided both formal project meetings that happen on a regular basis, as well as feedback from Mr. Johnson. And we're right on schedule, and if you were down there, or if you drive by, you'll see the, I guess there's an anchor, a perimeter anchor that holds the track in place and separates it from the actual field, and that's being laid at this point. And from all indications, we're moving right ahead.
Time to take shape.
Great.
And I spoke with Rita Mullen last week, and she said that there've been a few minor cost overruns, but nothing major as of yet. And obviously, the farther into the project you get, the better that looks.
Actually, what we have there right now is better than what we had before, so if we have to play on.
We can play on that right now,
We
right.
can play there.
And I think that the movement of all of the teams and the youth teams, football up to the middle school field is working out well. They're going to, my understanding is they're going to install portable toilets there for use. And one of the questions, not questions, but concerns, or just watch out for, is that we are experiencing increased traffic. Because the fields are used so extensively here, and particularly in the back of the school. So if you're here at night, you'll see that most of the parking spaces are filled, and you have a lot of young people, children, going up the walkway, up the stairs to the field, and coming down to the cars. So it's really a caution to everyone who's driving to be very careful. You have teams now coming up more frequently from the path from the high school, and because there's more vehicle traffic going out back, everyone needs to pay attention to that. And I addressed that in my back-to-school letter that'll be posted in the transcript as one of the watch out fors. So we're going to continue to monitor that, and certainly if we have, say, an open house here at the middle school, we'll have to be sure that there's no conflict on that night with with nighttime parking and so forth.
I might add too that the Recreation Department is intending to install portable lights up there as well.
That's what they have.
I think they're up there already.
Yeah,
I think they ended up purchasing them rather
Mhm.
than leasing them, because it was actually, they purchased used sets of lights, and it was less expensive than leasing.
Right.
So that's gonna allow, I guess, the football team to practice a little bit later and with all the usage of the field. Which is good.
Great. Anything else on building projects? Next item on the agenda is the ARRA stimulus funding. In our budget, we had targeted 50% of the available funds, and we've exceeded that with the purchase of new textbooks, so we've tapped into next year's available funds. David, do you want to outline the application process?
Well, I'll try. We were just notified, I guess last week, that the application for the stimulus part, we've already, the application for the IDEA special ed and the preschool part has already been released and is in progress. So this is the major money. This is the $775,000 that almost $776,000, pretty close to that, that should be available. And this application is just released, and the application can be submitted on a rolling basis with a target completion, I believe, by the end of October, beginning of November. There is, if you read through this though, and through the various memos that have come out, that at the earliest, the funding would be available by the second quarter, although it's not definite as to exactly when that money would be available. But a review of the application shows very clearly that this is a federal grant. This is not entitlement money that is simply flowing into town hall. This is money that we need to apply for. This is this grant application has some very definite requirements that have to be fulfilled. I know initially that it was targeted as 50-50 pretty much between the reinvestment, the no layoff, and then the recovery piece rather versus the reinvestment piece. But now there's a little bit of relaxation of that standard. However, regardless of whether you are applying for the recovery piece or the reinvestment piece, you have to be very clear on how you're spending this money, what categories you're spending this money on. And I've just actually, it was available this afternoon that Carl forwarded to me, and it was placed as an attachment at your seat, was some more detailed information about the actual fiscal reporting of that. And Carl and I have not had a chance to really go over that in any detail, but a quick scan of some of the targets or headlines on any of these memos says there's going to be quite a bit of accountability. If you're hiring someone, you're paying a salary for someone, you need to track that out. It needs to fall right within the grant. So, for example, you can't say you're going to use the money for X and then turn around and spend it on Y. And so in our budget in FY10, and I've included that list, we have already made commitments to $419,000 out of the $776,000 to deal with specific staffing positions to support the FY10 budget. Now, we're gonna have to go back and backtrack and take each one of those positions and make sure that it fits into the categories specified in the grant. And then report on it, justify it, and make sure this is done very clean.
This is an administrative nightmare.
It is.
This is ridiculous.
It's a
Well,
lot.
this is the recovery piece to help us
Right.
avoid layoffs.
Right.
I'm disappointed that they would soften the guidelines, because the more we use for recovery, the more of a hole we're gonna be in 2 years. So, we supported the efforts more when we could look at investment funds,
I
like
mean,
textbooks.
Well, they're very clear on the exceptions, and the exceptions are, you can't use it for maintenance costs, you can't use it for stadiums or anything dealing with athletics. You cannot use it to purchase or upgrade vehicles, and you can't use it to improve standalone facilities, whose purpose is not the education of children, including the central office, either operations or, any other kind of related support. So, there's.
That's disappointing about vehicles, because we've made the effort to do our own special ed transportation in-house to save a lot of money,
Right.
and we know we need to replace those vehicles. So
Right.
that would be an investment piece that I would think would be.
So we're going to, in the next probably 2 to 3 weeks or sooner, Carl and I will be getting together, and we will, before we submit this, we'll bring this back to the committee for the committee's review and ultimate endorsement before we send it in. I think, given the amount of this money, $776,000, and the fact that we've committed it to the FY10 budget, also with the understanding that when you write this grant, you must write it for the full amount.
Right, we'll
Okay.
apply for 776.
So, we have to think long and hard about if we intend to roll some of that over. And I'm still not clear, and I don't know if Carl has gotten any more information, there's a number of call-in conferences that'll be established on how the rollover provisions will work. That is, if you file for the $775,000, but you don't intend to spend it in FY10,
Yeah,
how
where do
will
we
that,
put it?
I
how will that
think-
be reported and so forth, so.
I think, David, in the project duration, they talk about, under the federal tidings amendment, which allows any funds not expended in the year appropriation to be carried over for obligation
Right.
during an additional 15-month period. However, that sounds to me like we may have to have projects already
In
in
place.
mind that we then, so that
And
means
that you
that,
started.
right, that means we're gonna have to come